started. Good morning, everyone, and thanks so much for being here. Happy Tuesday. Where's the sun? Summer's gone. It's been a while since we've done one of these, so a warm welcome to everybody. It's good to see you again. If you're joining us, if it's the first time, welcome to Synergia and the Metropolitan Parent Center. We're so glad you could join us for today's webinar. My name is JC Cortez, and I'm the Director of Training and Development here at Synergia's Metropolitan Parent Center. Before we get started, I just want to let you know that we're broadcasting live today via Facebook Live. And so we want to give a warm welcome to those of you joining us there. For those of you joining us via Facebook Live, please place your comments or questions in the comments section. They will be supervised and monitored. We want to ensure full participation of everybody that's joining us today. So please place your comments there. There will be a recording and a link will be sent to you in a follow-up email within 48 hours. But thank you. A few words on Synergia. Synergia is a multi-service agency based here in Manhattan in East Harlem specifically, and we've been supporting New Yorkers with disabilities and their families for more than 40 years. We offer a rich source of information and training tailored for parents, including parents whose primary language is not English or who they themselves may have special training needs. We help them participate more effectively in their children's education and development, and we partner with professionals and policymakers to improve outcomes for all children with disabilities. Synergia, which is Spanish for synergy, is one of New York City's 3 federally funded parent centers committed to serving people with disabilities and their families with an added focus on communities of color and the economically disadvantaged. Synergia creates innovative programs ranging from transitional housing for homeless families who have children with disabilities or parenting classes for adult parents with intellectual disabilities, and always parenting and education advocacy training for parents with children with disabilities. A few housekeeping notes. As I mentioned, we are recording this and there is a PowerPoint. We will share both with you after this presentation. Usually within 48 hours. I try to do my best to get it out the same day. If you have any questions at any time, we welcome all questions. However, we do want to say that anything that is case specific, for the sake of privacy, we ask that you reach out either directly to us or directly to our presenter. We're happy to take your questions. But when we start getting into like really specific cases and all of that, unless it's something that's a question about process, we would ask that you ask us those questions individually. And lastly, even though we find ourselves very knowledgeable in a lot of what we're about to present on, we're not lawyers and this is not legal advice. If you do try to make a decision, please consult an attorney if you feel like it's really of concern to you. We cannot underline that enough. So yes, so thank you for joining us for our presentation on special education, Know Your Rights. Happy to be joined with one of my dearest colleagues, Ms. Paola Martinez-Boone from the New York Lawyers for the Public Interest, who we're absolutely happy that can join us today for this presentation. A couple of words on the New York Lawyers. New York Lawyers for Public Interest provides essential tools to successfully navigate the special education system in New York City to ensure that children with special needs receive the educational services to which they are entitled, regardless of the type of school, public, charter, or private. My colleague is one of their senior advocates and a social worker. She's been with them for 20 years and has been an advocate for disability justice program for at least the last 18. She's a community organizer and she works with the Language Access Campaign to ensure that limited English proficient individuals receive care and materials in their language. She participates in various New York City councils for individuals with developmental and psychiatric disabilities, and she promotes community outreach, community integration, and advocacy on behalf of individuals with disabilities. Paola, it's so good to have you back. Thank you for joining us. And yes, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's my utmost pleasure to be here. This is my favorite part of my job, which is talking to people, helping them to understand their rights, because what you're gonna find out is your best advocacy on behalf of your child, your grandchild, your nephew, your brother, or your sister is when you know your rights. And that's what we're here for. I want to make sure to reinforce what JC just said, which this is an open forum. We are in live Facebook. So if you have a particular case that is detailed, pretending to your child with disabilities that you want to talk to us about it, I'm happy to talk to you. Here is the in the first slide is our intake hours, Monday to Friday, 10:30 to 3. You can call at any time and somebody will take information, just your name, your telephone number, and the reason why you need to talk to us. And I'd be more than happy to talk to you. If you don't have time to call, you can click that link that said NYLPI.org get help. The same question will be asked, you just fill it out and somebody will call you. In terms of the content of the presentation, of course, you can ask questions. JC is gonna be managing the chat. Ask the questions because the point here is for you to understand the rights of a child with a disability. But once again, case specific, this is not the forum because it's something called confidentiality. You don't want anyone to know what's going on in terms of a legal case because that could actually hinder your case. So I'm ready to start. This is a very long presentation. I'm gonna go very, very fast. But if you have, once again, questions about the content, happy to answer them. New York Lawyers for the Public Interest has been in business for almost 45 years. We are a legal organization. I want to stress that. We are not a social service organization. We are a legal service organization, meaning that every case that we take has to have a legal component. So we have made it a holistic approach because even when we cannot help you, we will give you resources, we will give you guidance, we will give you information. But at the core of our services is legal services. And I want to be clear for that. We don't provide programs, we don't provide services in terms of the habilitation or therapies, none of that. It's a straight, specifically legal. The beauty of our agencies, we don't charge for any of our services. Our services are for free, beginning to end. We don't charge for any of our service. When you take your case, it's all free, no cost to you, no sliding scale, none of that. It's specifically a straightforward legal. I'm gonna go quick to the different programs and services. We have a website. If you're really interested in exploring who we are and what we have done, I will suggest that you look into our website and you will be amazed of how many campaigns, how many things we have done on behalf of people with disabilities and the ones that we're still working on. So I'm gonna go, now I wanna spend 2 seconds on the program that I'm under, which is the Disability Justice Program. We not only do education, we also do community integration, opportunity and access, and communication access. So I will suggest that if you have any of those other issues, feel free to call us and somebody will get back to you. Okay, this is the agenda for today about special education. We're gonna learn about the law, which is IDEA, FAPE. Well, this doesn't apply anymore. The special education summer and fall. We're already in the fall. I'm gonna talk a little bit about what's going on right now. And then I know many of you have a child already with an IEP. So you probably didn't realize that the process looks like this: identification, referral, evaluations, eligibility determination, IEP, placements and services. So the IEP is almost the last step on the whole process. So it's important for us to understand the process in order for us to ask for if we, if we have an appropriate program and services. If you have behavioral concerns, we talk also about behavioral concerns. Okay. Corporal punishment, verbal abuse. I'm going to talk about all this. So as you can tell, it's a lot of information. Now, in terms of this PowerPoint, and I'm going to send it to JC. Feel free to share it. with anyone in this forum or anyone else who wasn't able to attend. However, the presentation have to stay as it is, intact. You cannot change it, you cannot modify it, you cannot add things or delete things. This is intellectual property of New York lawyers for the public interest. So if you're gonna share it, it has to be in the same format and with the same information that you're seeing today here. Okay, let's go right into it. What is a special education? A special education is a specialized instruction and related services individually designed to provide educational benefit. And I want you to focus on the individually designed, because this is not cookie cutter. This is no one size fits all. The whole purpose of special education is a specialized instruction that is tailored to your child needs. It's not a place, but it's a set of services. That's another thing that we need to understand. It's not a place. That what this means is like, if your child has a disability, it doesn't mean that he's gonna go only with other kids with disabilities, unless that's the appropriate setting. However, we know New York City have over 1 million students, many of which have disabilities, many of which have IEPs, and they are in community settings, in the community school receiving programs and services. So it's not a place, it's a set of services. Okay, what is the law? Okay, the law is called IDEA. It's the federal law that provides unprotected children's rights to a free and appropriate public education. And that's the part that we need to remember. This is about free and appropriate public education. So that's the what New York City Department of Education is obligated to do, to provide free and appropriate public education in the least restrictive environment when appropriate. So what that means is that there is two pieces to this: the free and appropriate public education and the least restrictive environment, in which New York City is tasked to try to educate students with disabilities in the most integrated setting when it's appropriate. Once again, there are kids with disabilities who are attending community schools, public school, community schools, and because that is appropriate for them. While there are other kids, given their needs, they are in, for example, at District 75, which is a district for specialized district for students with disabilities only. So, but we have to understand, what our child's needs and what is it that it needs to do, and what kind of program and services, in order for us to understand what is DOE doing and what they're doing in order to place our students in the appropriate setting. Okay, free means a public expense, meaning you're not gonna pay for it. Appropriate means appropriate for your child. Public is because it's under the direction of New York City Department of Education. The education means it covers all children preschool to K-12 until the age of 21. So now one particular thing that happened here on the pandemic, if your child reached 21 in June of 2021, but because of the pandemic, you believe that your child didn't receive all the education that he or she needs, he could go back to school for an extra year, but that's only this year. This is because of the pandemic. So if you didn't know that information and provided you with that information, if your child graduated at 21 and you believe that he needs an extra year, then New York City Department of Education is saying the students could come back if they need to. Okay, so who is a child with a disability? A child with a disability is a student with an impairment who is in need of special education or related services as a result of that impairment. Now, what you see here is what is called under the law, IDEA, classifications. These are not diagnoses. These are classifications. Now, in the case of autism, we know autism is also a diagnosis. But when we're talking about the IEP, they don't put diagnosis on the IEP, they put classifications. So after they do evaluations, then the Department of Education is gonna come out with with the classification that is the most appropriate, given what is interfering with your child's education. That's what it's really all about. What's interfering with your child's education, that is what's gonna tell them which classification they're gonna put on the IEP. It's only 13 of them. So if you haven't done so, look at your child's IEP first page. You will find it there on the top right-hand corner. Classification, clearly established: intellectual disability, autism, other health impairment, emotional disturbance. That's what it goes. That is important. That is important because when you call any legal services, they're going to ask you, or any lawyer, even a private attorney, what's your child's classification? A diagnosis is not enough. Why a diagnosis is not enough? Because we have kids who may have disabilities, but they don't need, they could be diagnosed with any disability, but perhaps they don't need specialized services or an IEP at all. So that's why a diagnosis is not enough. Classification does not determine placement of services. Meaning if you have a child classified, for example, with intellectual disability, it doesn't mean that he's gonna go only, to a school for students with intellectual disabilities. That's not the point. The point here is individualized, right? So whatever the classification is, the IEP should spell out his needs, his services, and then they're gonna figure it out what setting is gonna be the most appropriate for your child. Students are served according to need. Once again, I want to stress this: according to need, not according to classification, not according to diagnosis. And we have to be clear about that. The goal always must be to provide a free and appropriate public education in a least restricted environment. Okay. Who is entitled to special education? A student who has a disability and requires a specially modified instruction. This includes a student who do not have cognitive limitations. For example, a student who have physical disabilities, a student who have mental disabilities, bipolar disorder, ADHD. ADHD is not a cognitive disorder, it's a neurological disorder. So if you child have ADHD and you child have an IEP, that means that somehow they realize that the behaviors presented by ADHD are interfere with his or her education, and therefore that child needs modified instruction, accommodations, and everything else to make academic progress. Okay, the process. First is identification. I don't see anyone, I don't know, who is participating, but for example, if you have a small child and your child is, a preschool, a specialized preschool, that means that a child was identified already as a child with a disability. I also have a whole group of families who enroll their child for the first time in kindergarten, sometimes the third child, and they don't notice that the child has a disability or is in need of specialized services. So it could be that along the way, the teacher says, you know what, I noticed that your son, perhaps is behind, your son is not really getting the information. The school first, before they start identification, they put services in place, support services in place to help that student. Perhaps maybe that because that student was never in school and the other children has been in preschool and all that, they're a little bit ahead. So they first start with, support services in school. Then if that doesn't work, then the teacher will call mom and say, you know what, I think we want to refer your child for an evaluation, because even after we did the support services, it seems to be that something else is going on. And it could be the other way. Let's say if your child comes from school struggling, crying, unable to do the homework, confused, then you can also tell, I think something else is going on with my child. Let's do an evaluation. So the second says referral and consent, meaning DOE is going to send you forms in which you consent to the evaluation. Then they're going to do the evaluation. Now, the evaluations could be many evaluations. It could be usually to determine in terms of education, that's called a psychoeducational evaluation. But if your child may need also an evaluation for a speech, for occupational therapy, for physical therapy, for assistive technology, all that could be included once you start this process. Now, after that, it comes eligibility determination, meaning that because your child, for example, have an evaluation, speech evaluation, doesn't mean that he will be eligible. So he might be eligible for other services, but no speech. I will see it all the time. Sometimes they do a host of evaluations, and then they say, well, your child is entitled to these other services, but they're not gonna get occupational therapy, for example. They don't need it. So that's where the determination comes. Then it comes IEP development. Now, I want you to focus on two things before IEP development. One, that if your child was evaluated, you need copies of those evaluations at least 5 business days before the IEP, because you need to understand the findings. You need to understand and develop questions about, your child's evaluations. So it's their duty to send you that information 5 days before. Second thing, during the IEP development, that means that the day of the meeting, when they send you the letter, now it's probably going to be in Zoom, or I don't know if they went back to person, they're going to have the IEP meeting. In the IEP meeting, everyone is going to talk about their piece that they did for the evaluation. The social worker or the school psychologist or the teacher is going to talk about a psychoeducational evaluation. Then occupational therapist is going to talk about the occupational therapy evaluation, the speech and all that. If they're not able to attend, whoever did an evaluation is not able to attend, they're supposed to send a report, and the report is supposed to be discussed during the IEP meeting. Also, you are like a very important part of the IEP. You know your child, you deal with your child every day, you know the things that works for him or her, and you know the things that don't work. So you are an active participant. When I attend IEP meetings with families, I don't speak unless I need to. You can send me 500-600 pages about your child. I'm never gonna pretend that I know more about your child than you do. So you speak, you tell them what works, what doesn't work, what their routines, you talk to them about your child. Okay, and that is very important. I don't want anyone to be quiet on an IEP meeting, because that's not gonna help your child. And then it comes placement and services. After an IEP is developed, DOE have 30 days to find a placement if it's different from the current placement, and start the services. Okay, once again, who is on the IEP team? The parent or legal guardian. Please speak, please. If you read the evaluations, talk about them, ask questions, don't let them rush you out. This is about your child and probably what is going to happen with his education for the entire next year. IEPs must be updated every year. However, if programs and services are not working, you're entitled to ask for a reconvene of the IEP. Evaluation, psychoevaluation is supposed to be every 3 years. If your child is not making academic progress and you believe that something is not working, the school is not working, the program is not working, the service is not working, you're entitled to request a new evaluation because your child is struggling. In this slide, I also have the child, and this is because when we are dealing with older students, 14, 15, 16, we're also talking about transition out of school and their goals. So if they're able to participate, we bring them to the IEP because they should express how the school is going for them and what they want to do for the future. A school-based support team. It used to be the IEP team, now it's called school-based support team, social worker, teacher, psychologist, whoever. it's supposed to someone from the district, but many times the principal of the school is also the rep from the district, and he or she will join and said, I'm here today not as a principal, but as a district rep. For those students who attend charter school, non-public schools, or are in home instruction, then you're gonna be dealing with the Committee on Special Education, or CSE. Okay, what are the different systems? This is important. There is a system of community schools, and those are from District 1 to 32. There is a system for District 75 schools, specialized schools that also includes students who attend, who are in the hospital, hospitalized, and getting education services there. That's under District 75. And they are District 79, which are also alternative schools and programs. Usually District 79 is for students who are over age, undercredited, or students, for example, who had to drop school because they have problems with drugs and alcohol, and they have to go to treatment, to the Restart program or whatnot, and then they come back, and then because they already missed some time, then they join in District 79, or District 79 also for students who are serving suspensions. So once again, it's important to know the system that our child is belonging to, because if I have an issue with the school and my child is in District 75 school, I need to be calling District 75 superintendent, the administrative piece of District 75, not my community school, because they're not in charge of my student. Then we have the whole charter school, which is the charter schools are public schools, but charter schools are nonprofits that are run by different networks. So, but they still have to follow rules of public schools. One thing to note about charter school is that when you have a child who has an IEP in charter school, the programs and services come from DOE. So anything, and when you're suing for programs and services, you usually sue Department of Education about the lack of programs and services on the charter schools. And then we have the non-public schools. People call them private schools. We call them two groups. We call the non-public schools because the non-public schools are the ones who have contracts for payment from New York City Department of Education. And then we have what we call the private schools. We have no contracts with New York City Department of Education. We're gonna talk a little bit more about this. Okay.
Oh,
yes.
We have a question from one of our attendees, and it's what is the process for an IEP student that's on grade level for reading but not math and is just being passed along? It seems like the child has a form of dyslexia with numbers. The parents are immigrants with English language but not comprehension, and they have not been accommodated for their language needs. How is the process for that student?
Okay, a few things. If the parents are not, if I understand correctly, the parents are not accommodated for language needs, meaning when they go to school for meetings, there is no an interpreter. Is that correct?
It doesn't specify.
Okay, so this is the complexity of a forum like this. I need more information. If a child has an IEP and doing well in one area, but not doing well in another area, we need to look what's going on. What is it about math that, it's not working? What is the school putting in place before school meeting with the teacher in math, after school program? So it's a host of different things that should be going on, or perhaps they have put that in place and nothing have worked. So that parent who's asking that question, please call your lawyer so we can kind of talk to you, understand a little better the issue, and see how can we direct you or help you. Because it's very, it's more than that. The language issue, I think the short answer is that if you're a parent who does not speak English, every time that you need to go to an IEP meeting, to a meeting with a teacher, you can request an interpreter ahead of time. And I said ahead of time is a form of request. Because if you just passing by the school and say, oh, you know what, I have a doctor's appointment here in the corner, but let me stop in the school and talk about my child issues, and I speak Bengali, and they don't have someone, they're not breaking rules, because you're supposed to do that ahead of time. They're not gonna have a Bengali person. And once again, these interpreters have to be qualified interpreters. That's the other part. So that's why it could be someone there, for example, that speak your language, but that person is not a qualified interpreter. So that's not good for you either. So that's why if you speak a different language, you're entitled to language services when you go to meet with the school, but you have to request that ahead of time. So that piece is easier, but the other piece about, you know, behind in math and whatnot, I prefer for that person to call us so we can look at the whole picture.
They will. They will. They just confirmed that they will.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So, okay, evaluation. DO is required to evaluate every 3 years, as known as triennial evaluations. However, as I explained earlier, if your child is not making enough progress, if your child is struggling, if your child is crying, this is taking a toll on the mental health because they cannot do the homework and all that. So maybe 3 years when they did this evaluation, everything was working and the programs and services was appropriate, but 1 year into it, not anymore, you're entitled to request a new evaluation. The request is not difficult. I always suggest in writing. Everyone now is communicating via email, via text, please request. You can request direct to the teacher, send a teacher an email, always CC the principal, because the clock starts ticking once you start that evaluation. And you can say, you know, my child is struggling, he's not having enough progress, he's frustrated, please, I need a new psychoeducational evaluation. In writing, please, in writing. Why I stress this? Because I have families who call me and say, I requested an evaluation a year ago and nobody have gotten back to me. My first question is why you waited a year if this was a real issue. And two, how do you request it? Well, it was a group of parents and the teacher was talking to us and I just told the teacher. That teacher is not gonna remember because that teacher is also a human being like you and I. Most likely whatever I did this morning, I won't remember in 2 days. So I'm not trying to defend, but there are certain things that we need to do the proper way in order for us to have a hook. Because if you tell me that you need help and you share with me that that's how you ask for the evaluation, I know I'm gonna go nowhere from that I cannot hold them accountable for a year that they didn't do it. But if you have it in writing and you show me the email and you show me the text and you show me the letter or whatever way you use, I have something to work with because I could call them and say, listen, please expedite this. It's a year past due, what's wrong, blah, blah, blah. But if you don't have any of that, then it's very difficult for me to help you. There are different types of evaluations. Let's talk about this, assistive technology, occupational, psychoeducational. Once an evaluation is requested, you have 30 school days to complete it. Once again, this is what the writing and the date is important because after you request that evaluation, you have 30 school days. And I want to stress a school day. If you request an evaluation on December 16th and there is this 2 weeks break for Christmas, those days don't count. So it's 30 school days. Once the initial evaluations are completed, DOE must convene an IEP meeting. So after the evaluations are completed, you're gonna get a letter saying the IEP in which you're gonna discuss programs and services, and those programs and services must be implemented 30 days after the IEP meeting. So there you have your rights. This is the rights. This is not that I request today and I wait a year. This is not, you know, we already have an IEP meeting and my child is being 3 months and no programs of new services. So this is how it works. Okay. What is an individualized education program? What we call the IEP. It's a legal document. What is on the IEP, DOE is supposed to provide. Your child is entitled to that because it's a legal document. We need to pay attention to the IEP parents, families, please. I have so many families who call me and they have not looked at the IEP and the child is struggling. And the IEP is supposed to provide you with all the information you need about what's going on in school, about the programs, about the services, about the ratio, all that. So keep the IEPs, read the IEPs, question the IEPs, please, please. It has the disability classification, classroom size and setting, educational supports and related services, and goals and objectives. All that you need to be aware of. All that, because if you don't read the IEP, if you don't read this information, then you're not going to be able to advocate for your child. And it might be 1 year, 2 years, 3 years before you realize something is not working. And that's 3 years that your child wasted in school. It breaks my heart when I have teenagers, 14, 15 years old, that they don't know how to read or write because they've been passed along and the parent never understood the IEP, never asked questions about the IEP. And now, we have wasted all these years. In order to advocate for our kids, it's not the fact that you go to school and you get on the teacher, on the principal. You have to go with facts in order for them to even pay attention. And that's the other part. And when you go with facts, it's because you're reading the IEP, you're reading the evaluations, you're reading the materials, and then you know your child is struggling. It is, it's hard for a parent to see their children struggle. When there could be programs and services appropriate for him or her that I could really help them to get an appropriate education. But the work is on us. The work is on us. Unfortunately, we want the OE to do everything that our children need, but the work is on us. The IEP must be reviewed and updated annually. The parent legal guardian is a member of the IEP team. If the parent signs the IEP, that means only a proof of attendance, doesn't mean that you are in agreement with the IEP. So you attend the IEP, they offer you a new program services, you are in disagreement, you sign, but you sign for attendance, you don't sign in agreement with the IEP. If you're not in agreement with the IEP or the evaluations, we're gonna talk about the things that you need to be doing. Okay, for those students who have behavioral issues, those students who are in school and they have behavioral issues, you also entitled to request what is called a functional behavior assessment and a behavioral intervention plan. That is very important because if your child is behaving at school and you request a functional behavior assessment, they're gonna send someone to observe your child in the classroom to see and to observe his behaviors, at what times he behaves. We have a lot of students, especially students that have having issues understanding topics, that they get frustrated, and because they don't understand, they feel lost, they start acting out. So that's what the behavioral assessment is. That person will sit all day long for a couple of days and then realize this student only behaves when it's math time, for example. Because if we don't know anything about math, is that it builds on. If you didn't understand the class last week, and this week they're building on what happened last week, you're already lost. And what happened naturally, that student gets frustrated, gets upset, and it's gonna act out. So they're gonna realize, okay, this is an issue with this particular area in which this child he does fine until math class. So something is going on, what can we do about that? So that's why the functional behavioral assessment is important. It may be that a lot of kids are on medication, and if you're in high school and math is your last subject, at that time your medication is already running out, and therefore, you start acting out. And, and the school's supposed to carry the behavioral intervention plan, meaning the interventions that they're gonna do to support your child while your child is in school. So that is very important. And once again, is your right, you can, request that at any time. Okay. This is about suspensions. And the only thing that I'm gonna talk about suspension is one, that a child with a disability can be suspended and subject to the same rules to other students. However, Students might not be punished for actions that are a result of their disability. So that's the only exception here. If your child has a disability, he or she needs to follow the rules as the other students. However, if something happens, your child cannot be punished if his actions had to do with his or her disabilities. We don't do suspensions. We don't have the staff to do suspensions, but if that is your case, there is a process that DOE needs to follow. And I talk about here the process. If that is your case and you need assistance for this process, you can call us and we can give you other agencies that actually are focused on suspensions. But I have it here as, you know, for you to understand your rights as per suspensions, and also to know what to do if that is your case. Okay, the other part that I'm gonna jump into is corporal punishment and physical abuse. This is very important because we have students who are not verbal, students who are not able to communicate what's going on in school. And sometimes we get those calls in which the student have a bruise, the student have scratches, and nobody knows what's going on. So once again, there are regulations, chancellor regulations, and I would suggest for all of you to read then chancellor regulations about corporal punishment, physical abuse, so you know your rights about that. Now, if your child already was hurt by a staff member, a teacher, a paraprofessional, the principal and all that, and you are in the process of having an investigation, or you don't know what happened with your investigation, you want to know that happens and nothing has been done, you don't know what happened, you can give us a call. You can give us a call or email me directly. This is the only topic in which you can email me directly, because we are working hard to improve the system of investigations within the OE, and I'm part of that team. So if you have that particular issue, feel free to email me directly so I could talk to you about the details of what we do. Now, in case that that something happened to your child, you can actually contact the Office of Special Investigations or call 311 to create a report. Something happened at the school. Let's say your child come from school and you notice bruises or cuts or whatever, you can call 311 and start a process of investigation. Because what happened is, like, DOE have a database. They're gonna include that information in the database, and the next day, or the principal is gonna get an email with your complaint. Or you can complain directly to the school. A lot of parents, what they do is that, to make sure that DOE say, oh, that wasn't here, or maybe that was at home, is when they notice bruises or scratches or anything, they take the kids to the doctor or the urgent care to put it on paper that, this is what you noticed when your child came from school. But once again, you can do that at the same time that you immediately call 311 to start an investigation. Okay, now I'm gonna go all about your due process rights. So once again, if you have an IEP meeting and you're not happy, or you believe that what they put in the on the IEP is not appropriate, or they put the same things and nothing changed and things are not working, you have several options. What is that? Those are called your due process rights. You can go to a mediation. You can request an impartial hearing, and you can also request pendency. And we're going to talk about that. So let's say I go to an IEP meeting and the speech therapy says to me, well, we're gonna, your child does not qualify for speech any longer. He used to have it 3 times a week. Now he doesn't need it anymore. So therefore, no more speech. And then you said, I don't think that's right. And then you take your child to an independent evaluator, speech evaluator, who says the contrary. You bring that documentation back to school. They're like, no, our evaluation says he doesn't need it. But you do have a strong strong information about the needs for your child. So you're going nowhere with that school. So you can start a mediation process. A mediation process could be started by the parent. The participation is voluntary. Mediation is confidential, meaning nothing that is said during the mediation can be used as a testimony or evidence if you choose to go to impartial hearing. Mediators are neutral, means that mediators do not work for Department of Education. We as an office use mediation a lot depending on the issue. If I request a mediation, they don't work for New York lawyers either. And whatever is agreed in that mediation process is legally enforceable, meaning that if a representative of New York City Department of Education goes to the mediation and they sign the contract, say, yes, we agree that your child needs to, that speech need to go back on your child's IEP, that is an enforceable contract. It's easier, it's faster, and there are places in New York City that are in charge of mediation and giving you all the sites. And these are nonprofits. They don't work for Department of Education. They don't work for any agency. They are their own entity that they will request the mediation for you, follow up with Department of Education, bring the mediator to the table to mediate your issue. Okay. One thing that you need to know about mediation is there are certain things that don't belong to the mediation table. And one of them is private school. The people who attend mediation from DOE, they don't have the powers to approve a private school, because for private school, the investigation has to be more in-depth. The investigation is not like, this school is bad, you're not giving me my child what he needs, I need a private school. It's more than that. So that's why mediation is not the forum to discuss private school placement. However, therapist placement, that are stuff that you can actually bring to a mediation. Now, if your issue is that your child is not making academic progress, your child is not, DOE have failed to provide FAPE, your child is behind, and it's a whole set of issues, then you have another due process, which is impartial hearing. Impartial hearing is an administrative proceeding where an impartial hearing officer makes the decision based on testimony and evidence. That evidence is what I'm talking about. That is a lot of documentations, a lot of evaluations, because you need to prove, you as the parent need to prove, because the burden of proof is on you to prove that DOE have failed and there is not a school within the network that it is appropriate for your child. So that is a high bar. It's not impossible, but that is a high bar, because what you're telling or you need to prove is like between 32 districts plus this is 75, none of that is appropriate for your child. That your child needs a specific instruction, a specific programs, and specific services. So the burden of proof is on you. Impartial hearings are like a trial. It's like going to court. So that's why you need to prepare. If you're an organized person, easier time, because you can prepare the evaluations, you can prepare everything that you need and put it in one place, and that will be your proof. The fact that you want a private school doesn't mean that you're gonna get a private school, because you need to prove that that's what is appropriate for your child. Why is that? And I get these calls. As a parent, you can place your child in any school you want, in the private set of schools. However, the issue here is because you're asking New York City Department of Education to pay for it. And that's when they're gonna ask you, prove us that that's the only school that could educate your child. For all the other people that I don't know, that they have the money to pay private school, this is a non-issue. They just place their child in private school and they pay $100,000 for the year. Nobody is telling them anything. But because we are asking New York City Department of Education to pay for it. That's why we have to go through this process. In most cases, the suggestion is for you to have an attorney for impartial hearing. But I could tell you by my own experience for my agency and a lot of the legal services, sometimes we are overloaded with cases and we cannot take one more case. If that is the case, you call us and you call legal services and legal aid and MFJ and all the advocates for children, and everyone is telling you, I'm sorry, we don't have a space. You can go ahead and do this yourself. Actually, last week I have a client, they speak Spanish, and they put together the impartial hearing and they won. So, and many times what happens is that when the impartial hearing officer understands that the negotiations are going nowhere because it's a lack of understanding from the parents about the law and the regulations, then they themselves tell the parents, I think you need to go and look for someone to represent you. Because this is, this is at the crossroads of knowing your rights and just wanting stuff that are not your child's rights. So when they many times, instead of giving you a bad decision, many of the impartial hearing officers said to you, you know what, we're gonna stop here. We suggest that you go look for an attorney. And the purpose for that is because the attorney have the knowledge or about the process. And also when you call our office and you tell us, I am already in the impartial hearing process and I'm asking for this, I gonna tell you, well, you can go ahead and continue that, but this is really how it works. You free to continue, but when I tell you this is really how it works, it's really like you are in the wrong path. Like this is not, what you're asking, you're not entitled to. But once again, I'm not a gatekeeper. If you want to move forward, that's that. But once again, this is a process in which you can represent yourself if you want to continue. The request for impartial hearing must be in writing, meaning that they have a process. One thing that I'm gonna tell you is that when you request impartial hearing, if you have 5 issues, bullet points, don't put stories and don't start when my child was born, because nobody's gonna read any of that. Straight to the point. This is what's happened and this is what I'm asking. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 20, whatever items. And that is important. Why? Because if you request an impartial hearing for 5 items and the day of the hearing, you want to talk about 20 items, most likely the impartial hearing office is gonna say, wait, but none of that is here in your request. You're gonna have to ask for another impartial hearing for those others. If you're lucky and they, impartial hearing is not that busy, they might, tell you, okay, we're gonna take care of a few of the others, but really, in practice, you need to number the subjects that are gonna be discussed at that impartial hearing. If you, let's say, put 2 items and then you realize it's more than that, you can always amend the hearing, but that's also going to cause delays because this system is a very delayed system. If you add something or change something, it's going to cause delays. Okay. This is what I just talked about. The impartial hearing can only give you what you ask for in your request. So note here, impartial hearings are adversarial, meaning that DOE is going to come full force to, talk about what they have done and, and the things that, they have done for the child, and what you're asking is not what your child needs, all that. So be prepared for that. This is not friendly conversation and impartial hearing. It's time consuming. It takes months and months and months to get an appointment for impartial hearing, and then it's like a set of steps that you need to follow. So it's time consuming. If you hire a private attorney, it's going to cost you a lot of money. If we are representing you, it's free to you. But if you're a parent who wants to, hire a private attorney, you're going to pay a lot of money for that as well. Okay. What are the things that you can request in an impartial hearing? A new program, a new setting, services, independent evaluations, compensatory services, tutoring, all that you can request in an impartial hearing. I'm gonna talk about pendency because this is relates to IEPs. Let's say, and I have a call about this like 2 or 3 weeks ago. There was an IEP meeting and the school, said to the family, we don't think that this school is any longer good for your child. We are not appropriate for your child. I think you need to look for a different school. We can no longer support your child in terms of the program systems and all that. So the parent is in disagreement with that. So therefore, they requested an impartial hearing and they included pendency. What that means is that the child will stay at that school, the school where he is right now, while the process of impartial hearing starts and continue and they get a decision. So the child cannot be moved, even though the school don't want the child there anymore because they believe that this school is not appropriate for that child. Because of pendency, the child must stay there until this issue is solved throughout an impartial hearing. So that's what a pendency is, but you have to trigger it, meaning that it's not like I'm gonna leave my child and I'm gonna think about it. Once the school meets with you and said to you, this is no longer an appropriate placement for you, you're gonna have to start something. You're gonna have to start mediation, you're gonna have to start impartial hearing and trigger mediation. Trigger pendency. Okay. So once again, I'm going to talk about charter schools. I don't know if in this audience we have individuals who have charter schools. The kids is placed in charter school. Charter schools are public schools. Department of Education is still responsible for developing the IEP. This is done by the community, especially CSE. The charter school may take part in that process, meaning the teacher and all that, the people who are like dealing with your child, they take part of the process, but still DOE is in charge. Once the IEP is developed, the charter school is responsible for carrying out the IEP. Let's say if the child is attending a community school, a charter school, and he's in a regular classroom, but once they develop an IEP, the IEP says, well, this student needs a speech and it needs also a small class and all that. This is a little bit complex here because if the charter school doesn't have what the new IEP says that the child needs, that student needs, they're gonna let you know, you're gonna have to move your child because they don't have to open. For example, a lot of charter schools, they don't have a small classroom. They don't have, for example, a classroom of 12 students, 1 teacher, and 1 paraprofessional. That does not exist. So if that doesn't exist, and that's what the new IP says, they're gonna have to let you know, we don't have that setting here. You're gonna have to look for a different school because they don't have it. They're not gonna have to create that program. That is also true for public schools. A regular community school, if you have your child, for example, from kindergarten to 2nd in a community school with services, but then your child is evaluated and then is determined that he or she needs more services or a different program altogether, a next program, a Horizon program, they're gonna let you know, the school's gonna say, this school is no longer appropriate for your child, therefore, we're gonna go with placement to accommodate your child's IEP, or we believe your child belongs to the next program or the Horizon program, where programs are specific for kids with autism. They're gonna let you know, okay? The IEP must be designed to meet your child's needs, not based on what the charter school can offer. And this is a big one because I have a lot of parents that, they have an IEP that says a small class, but because they won the lottery and they want the child in the charter school because the brothers and sisters go there, then they talk to the charter school and then there's a creation, a new IEP that doesn't include a small at most classroom. And that is very damaging in the long term for your child, because if it was determined that your child needs a small program and services and you put him or her in a large setting, that child is going to struggle because that setting is not appropriate for him or her. So just keep that in mind. I get those calls too. My child has been in charter school for 3 years, and then when I start digging, I look at the IP, but the IP that 3 years ago says that he needs a 12 1-to-1, and why you have him in a regular classroom? Oh, because I won the lottery and my other kids are there and it's easy for me and all those things. Well, at the end of the day, your child is not learning because he's not in the appropriate setting. That's really what comes down to it. The due process is the same, meaning that if you have any issues with the charter school, still you need to go to impartial hearing or mediation, or all those due process. So you will go to the same systems. I'm not going to talk about Section 504 because this is, specific for accommodations. You can read about it. And if you have questions, I could discuss those. Private school placement. This is a big one.
Paola, sorry,
yes.
Before you continue, there is a question about charter schools. And it's, I understand that charter schools may not have small classrooms, but what about a non-verbal child with autism? Like, just asking in generally, have you heard of charter schools being able to accommodate a non-verbal child? Parent goes on to say that
the answer is no.
The parent goes on to say that I'm totally new to all of this. My son just started pre-K at a specialized preschool, and I'm starting the kindergarten process.
With a charter school network, charter schools are known for not having a lot of accommodations for kids with disabilities. If your child is nonverbal and needs a set of programs and services so he could get an appropriate education, and that charter school don't have that, then that's not the appropriate program for your child. So once again, once an IP is created, who never takes on that child must have those program services. Most likely, even if you go to a charter school, even if you win the lottery and they see the IP and they see that they cannot provide those services, they're gonna let you know. It's not like you're gonna be able to enroll it and then, fight about it. It's clear because everyone who goes to enroll a child in any system, public, private, or charter, the first step is to review evaluations and to review the IP. Once they realize that we have a nonverbal student here and we cannot accommodate this student, then they're gonna try to look for a program and service that is appropriate for that student. Okay, can I move on?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so private school placement. First and foremost, if you remember the beginning of the presentation, I talk about the obligation of Department of Education to place students in a least restrictive environment. Private school or non-public school are considered the most restrictive environments. Kids who attend private school, they only mingle with other kids with disabilities. They are not typical students in a specialized private school. So with that, keep in mind. And I know talking about knowing your rights and knowing the language that we're talking about, I have a lot of parents asking me, well, I want a private school for my child, but also my child needs to be integrated for typical students so he can learn behaviors of typical students. So this is not gonna be the environment for that because these are the most restrictive. If your child has severe autism, for example, and his IEP is, says that your child needs to be educated in a specialized private school, most likely he's gonna be in a restricted environment due to his disabilities. He's not gonna be with typical students, most likely, in accordance with the IEP. Once again, the IEP have to be individualized. I have set of twins with autism, one goes to one setting, one goes to a different one because their needs are different. So that's what is important, individualized. Students are not automatically entitled to private school, even if you feel that DOE has done something wrong. And that's the other part, because people call me all the time and says, well, my child didn't receive a speech therapy for a whole year. the DOE has done nothing. They didn't help me. And they have a whole list of other things. But if your child didn't receive a speech therapy for a whole year, the remedy or the fixing for that is to get back that speech therapy. It's not private school. They have nothing to do with private school. So once again, the solution have to fit the issue. If you don't receive a speech therapy, the solution is to get that speech therapy back. There are 4 different ways in which your child could be educated in a non-public school. For a state-approved school, meaning for those schools who have contracts for payment with DOE, there is something called a Nickerson letter. Now, let me tell you, a Nickerson letter is almost a dinosaur these days because it's based on technicalities. It's not based on what your child needs for an education. It's based mainly, for example, by August 15, your child needs to receive a placement. If it comes August 15, there is no placement, and then you fuss about it, then you will get a Nickerson letter. The problem with Nickerson letters is that you then that day will be in charge to find your own school in the network of approved schools. And while you have that letter at hand, looking for schools, if DOE finds you a public school, they're gonna offer you that. Because this is not, Nickerson letters are not based on education, are based on technicalities of the failure of offer you a school. The other part of Nickerson letter is, let's say if you're lucky and find a space in an approved school, and they take him for that year, for the next year, you're probably not gonna be able to get your child there because DOE is gonna be paying attention, say, oh no, we now have a school for your child and it's gonna be in time. So that's why Nickerson letters are a dinosaur. The other second one, how do you get your child to private school? Deferral to Central Based Support Team or CBST. How we come about that? Once you have an IEP meeting, this support team will say, listen, Mr. Smith, we have reviewed the evaluations, documentation and all that, and we realize that we cannot provide for your child the education that he needs. And we check our other schools, and it doesn't seem that anything is gonna be a good fit for your child. So we're gonna defer your IEP to the Central Based Support Team. And this is a unit in DOE in which they gonna ask you for all your child's documentation, or they're gonna get it from the school, and they're gonna start working on finding you an appropriate non-public school for your child. So that's the fastest way. There is no issue with that because the own support base says we don't have anything for this child. This child needs a specialized program, specialized services. Therefore, we're gonna send this case to CBST. So case manager is assigned and she or he will look for a school for your child. The other part of this is that the relationship that you have with these schools, these private schools, only for payment. They only for payment. So let's say your best friend have a child in a school and you want your child to go to that school, private school, and you talk to the CBST, and CBST send you child paperwork, and that school say, no, we're not appropriate for this student. It's nothing that DOE could do to force them to take your student. Absolutely nothing. And I run into that a lot as well. Oh, but I like the Blue Feather schools, but they say my child wasn't appropriate. But DOE hasn't done anything about it because they can't. These are private entities. The HHRC schools, the YI schools, these are private entities. The only relationship they have with DOE is for payment, meaning I take your student, you pay me, that's it. But they're entitled to review your papers and say, we don't have a space or we are not the right school for your child, okay? And then we have the other set, which is for non-approved private school, meaning these are the private schools that they don't even have a contract with DOE, meaning, and these are what we call the parentally placed students, meaning that like, I'm done with DOE. I want the Rebecca school for my child. So then I'm gonna place my child and then I'm gonna fight DOE for payment. And that's what these two groups are. The people that I serve, majority of people that I serve, they cannot afford to do step 3 or 4 because some of these schools request a down payment. Some of these schools put you in a contract saying, if you lose an impartial hearing, you still need to pay us. So the people that we serve, we are nonprofit. We serve people who have usually not means to pay. So then, no, 3 and 4 really doesn't really apply for the populations we serve. I talk about this already. These are resources I will suggest for you to look into them. I provide a lot of resources here. As usual, also check our website. We have a lot of, this is all fact sheets, meaning informational documents about all these topics. So if you have time, you're interested in reading, and we have all that information. All these are on our website. They are in English and they are in Spanish. Some of them in other languages, just check, okay? Once again, a few tips. Please record, not like press record. What I mean with this is that take notes of conversations that you have with different school meetings and all that, because that's information that help us. If you, for example, request an evaluation and you have called school 5 times and you tell me I called 5 times, nobody's, giving me a straight answer, I'm gonna ask you who you talk to, at what time, what day. So if you have, please buy a 99-cent notebook and start writing that. If you have emails, keep those emails because those are helpful to us as well. I say, okay, send me the communications, what they said. Please keep the IEPs. Have a basket, a folder with the IEPs at least 3 years, because that also is helpful in terms when you try to demonstrate that DOE has done nothing for your child and your child has been struggling for the past 2 years. That is important for us. Also the evaluations. If your child have a psychoeducational evaluations, please keep them. If you have evaluations outside of the Department of Education, which I strongly recommend, a neurological evaluation, neuropsychological evaluation, all that please keep in your files. Developmental pediatrician did an evaluation and have some recommendations for school. I want to see that. Everything that pertains to your child's education, progress reports, and all that, I keep it, please, at least 3 years so we can see the history of your child's education and identify where DOE have failed, okay? Once again, we are open. You can call us directly 10 to 10:30 to 3. That's the main number. And you don't even have to call us. You can click here in this form that said get help. And it's only 3 questions: name, telephone number, and the reason why you're calling us. And somebody will get back to you. With that being said, thank you everyone. And then perhaps we will have some questions at this time.
Yes, thank you so much, Paola. That was great. It was very thorough. Really appreciate that. We do have a few questions here. There's one question with regard to the process for an IEP student when it comes to public or private placements. What is available for a student that has that's very verbal and intelligent? For example, and this is to use their words, high functioning Asperger's, but struggles with remedial learning and acts out due to frustration. What are the options for bright kids that are remediated academically?
Well, once again, first of all, you have to go to the process to talk to a school to see what works. If nothing have worked, and if this is behavioral, I also want to, if you call us, I also want to know what you're doing outside of Department of Education in terms of, is this student getting some therapies, behavioral therapies, talking to someone outside school, have a psychiatrist, if they need medication. have a social worker, a therapist, stuff that he could work outside the school as well. Because this is what happened when schools are very, very smart and they have behavioral issues that is interfering with their education, then a school has to put in place sensitive, measures, but also, for example, they put counseling. I want to be clear that counseling in school is not therapy. Counseling is almost a check-in. If the student is not feeling well in terms of like an overwhelm in the class, they could go to the counselor. When they, in those 30 minutes, the counselor is going to ask you how you're doing, what's happening here. Okay, let me talk to your teacher about how you feel and all that, but that's not therapy. What I find out through the years is that you have to have a combination of the services that are happening at school and services outside of school that's going to help that student who is very smart to understand their behaviors and to manage their behaviors. So it's a combination of both.
Great. Also a question, hi, Dr. Martinez, is New York Lawyers still doing the monthly newsletter?
I am actually, thank you for that question. Oh my God, I love to know who's reading my newsletters. I actually, we took a break I took a break in August because I'm the one who does it and put all the resources together. And a lot of people were out in terms of the resources I was gathering and didn't have enough. But this Friday, you're gonna get the first one for October. Thank you so much.
We have a question here. Is home instruction supposed to be discussed during the IEP?
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. You have to, home instruction, if you're receiving home instruction, it's the same process. You will have an IEP, you will discuss the goals, you discuss all that is the same, but you're gonna be discussing with the community of special education because your child is not actually attending school. So definitely discuss the progress, the lack thereof. If at any point, if your child is home instruction because they needed a nurse and now you want to reconsider and they put back the nurse or the paraprofessional, you want to try go back to school, all that you discuss. You don't wait.
Yes, don't wait. There's a question here. Thank you for all of this. Is there anything a parent can do now to get the ball rolling on finding a kindergarten seat for 2022? I realize it's a little bit early. With regard to that question, the Turning 5 process doesn't begin until December is when we start getting the details from the Department of Education on what that process will look like for the next school year. So just stay posted, keep, our colleagues at Advocates for Children and ourselves, we definitely do webinars and updates on that around December and January to ensure that you have that information as soon as possible. The Department of Education also provides public forums, direct access to the public. We try and just kind of sort through it and streamline it a little bit better so that it's clear, but you're also welcome to look at the Department of Education's process, which they keep on their website. Paul, I don't know if you had any additional insight into that.
No, what I want to say is what Jesse said is what you really to keep on it. You need to learn about that process. You need to learn about the steps. You need to learn all that. And please join Advocates for Children. Have big, a lot of the website. They have a lot of information about the Turning 5 process. They have a whole brochure, the timelines, what you need to look into it. Please attend the workshops, attend things put together by Synergy about the Turning 5 process. The Turning 5 process also have an email. They have forums. They also, so it's a lot of information. And I encourage you to do all of that if you have the time, because that's how you're gonna, start organizing yourself and see, how's the process and why I'm supposed to be talking about during this process and all that. The more that you learn, the better advocate you're gonna be for your child.
Yeah, and I would just say, there is information on their website, Advocates for Children's website currently.
Right.
Just remember that does change slightly year to year.
Yes.
So, even though it might be there, it might give you a better idea of what to keep in mind if you want to take get a head start and look at it now. And I can provide you with that information now. And yes, one of our fellow advocates, Ms. Sumaya, was just saying, parents to parents of New York State can also help with this. So yes, thank you, Ms.
There's a
Sumaya.
lot of resources there into the 25 process.
Yeah, but yes. Any other questions? Let's see. I'm trying to look for that Advocates for Children link. Well, here, I'll just put their website here, and you can look for yourself. There we go. All right. Well, I don't see any other questions, Paola. So with that, I will close us out. Everyone, thank you. I will activate a poll here if you don't mind participating, and we would really appreciate it. Just to give us some feedback and insights on how we can improve these. I also want to say, if you are interested in any or wanting to learn more and receive some of our support in terms of special education advocacy, one-on-one, we do have that available in English and Spanish, as well as many other supports that we offer here within the agency. And you can contact our intake department. It'll be included in the follow-up email. And then lastly, I just want to announce that we will be doing more webinars, a lot more. We're just getting started. I just activated the poll if you want to go ahead and start while I'm talking. But we will have Paola back for special education in Spanish, the same presentation today. That'll be on Thursday. Next week, we have a full week with a presentation from Fordham University on internet safety. The English presentation will be next week, and then Paola will be back with us to discuss future planning on Wednesday in English and Thursday in Spanish. And then on the 12th of October, we'll have internet safety in Spanish only. In November, we have sexuality and sex ed, what every parent needs to know. In December, we currently have ADHD and understanding that. In January, we will have behavioral management and strategies for parents. That's just the tip of the iceberg. We're going to be launching our Apple Academy, which is an advocacy series, an in-depth advocacy series for our Spanish-speaking parents. We'll also have information sessions on the ASD NEST program, the Horizon program, the ACEs, and bilingual special education programs available through the Department of Education. And as I was just saying earlier, we will also cover Turning 5 and that process for the next school year. So that will be, that's currently what we have on our plate. I know we're going to be adding more to that. So we look forward, if you have any suggestions or if there's something that we can help your specific school community with, please let us know. You can reach out to me. I will be following up with you via email today or tomorrow, so you'll have that information. But we're always happy to provide any type of training for your school community or your organization as well. But yes, I see one question. What recourse does my child have who was harassed and threatened by her math teacher because she had an IEP and had to change schools? She never had an annual IEP meeting in high school because school didn't want to pay the psychologist. And when she graduated from high school to college, because she didn't have a current IEP, she doesn't receive any services in college and is failing.
Okay, this is like a post-secondary issue. So we don't do post-secondary, but I will say just email me, and so we can talk, so I could gather a little bit more information and see if I could send you somewhere for that particular post-secondary issue.
Yeah.
Because we don't have the capacity. We only do like K to 12. Some preschool, but you know, that's a college level. That's different. So, but I could talk to my colleagues and see if anyone knows how to help students when they're in college and you know, having different education issues. So if you email me or call me to set up a time to talk, I could look for resources.
Yes, and you could also contact Advocates for Children. They might be able to better direct you as well. But yes, those are two great resources. Thank you, Paola. Parents considering the homeschooling process would be good. Yes, agreed. Will we have a seminar for parents of students transitioning from early intervention to CPSC? We don't have anything currently scheduled, but I definitely will write that down. It's something we can definitely look at. Most colleges, we have a comment here, most colleges have a special education council board that can help advocate for the child. And yes, Miss Ellington, we will be emailing everybody the presentation and the link. If you want to watch it again, it's immediately available on Facebook, on our Facebook page. We will be posting it there as well as YouTube. So yes. But yes, all right. Well, thank you everybody for being here today, and enjoy the rest of your day. And thank you so much.
Well, thank you, everyone. Shared knowledge, please. Okay, bye.
See you soon. I'll stay on in a bit longer if anybody has any other questions. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much.